So yeah, just very briefly, I'm totally and utterly focused on how do we find enough social care workers and how do we keep them. And what I wanted to do was share with you where we are with the Care Friends app and its application into children's social care. And there are a couple of avenues we're heading down. One is the kind of bulk, kind of core workforce for children's social care, but also we've got a very interesting project, which I can't talk too much about, but it involves foster care. So I'll tell you a little bit about that as we go. So those are the two sort of strands. What I thought I'd do with the remaining 19 minutes I have is just quickly share some slides, because it's easy for everyone to kind of process the information. And then I will attempt to do a live demo, which is always always fun. So we'll see how that goes. So, and I want to say thank you very much. I don't know if Helena is on the call or not, but Helena Zam at Microsoft kindly introduced me to Coram and to Sylvie, and we are a Microsoft. Our technology solely relies on Microsoft to function, so we're very grateful to them. So yeah, just give you a little bit of an overview. I think the most important thing to say really is if we're looking to find people, whichever way you want to find them, then there are certainly connections already with the workforce or with social care in general, children's social care, are the secrets to how to find people. And this research you can see on the screen was undertaken by the Department of Health and Social Care. I was involved working with them for the first national recruitment campaign for adult social care. And some of the really fascinating findings that never really got aired properly because they were all a means to an end for the campaign, I think should be given a moment in the sun. And what you'll see on the screen here are a series of coloured bars, and very, very briefly, these are asking people would they be interested in working in adult social care. That it will be very similar with children's. And you can see there are 5 clusters of coloured bars, and the 3 from the left are yeses. These are people who are disposed to working in social care, and then the 2 higher clusters of bars on the right are those people who are not interested at all or not now. And of course those bars are much higher. We know that most people aren't interested in taking a job in particularly a frontline care role. That's just life. But there are people out there that are interested, and they're not always on a job board. They are out in the community, and you can see it's the light blue bar and the green bar that are much, much higher in terms of yeses. And those people are, in the light blue, people that have a friend or a family member who works in the sector already, and this channel to reach them is employee referral, and that is what we're doing in Care Friends. And then the green, and it sometimes overlaps with the light blue, are people who have a loved one who is receiving care, and this would be classically family members, extended family members of somebody, of a child who was in receipt of care or support. And they are also another group that's very highly disposed to working. So the secret, briefly, to recruiting and retaining in children's social care is that you concentrate on those 2 routes if you can. So hopefully that's of interest. So what we did with the first route is to try and develop an app that we thought could possibly pump up, turbocharge employee referral. And that is what we did. I came up with the idea in 2018. We piloted in 2019 in Cornwall, and we had a full page in the Guardian on the possibility of what this could become. Well, of course, things take longer to come to fruition than you expect, but it certainly has really started gathering momentum in adult social care, and we're really keen to move into children's social care in the ways I described. So this little word cloud is managers, adult social care managers in this case, saying what recruitment methods now work for them. And you can see there's a big move away from Indeed and the sort of job boards. I mean, people still use them, but they don't really deliver enough anymore, and the quality can be patchy. And so you can see what is working for people is refer a friend, and you can see below that Care Friends, which is really gratifying to see. Those 2 you can combine together with social media and word of mouth. You can see where the world's moving in terms of how we should recruit. So Care Friends is growing. It got a head of steam in adult social care. The sector is really getting behind it, which is great. There's lots more we have to do. You'll see the app live in a moment, so I'm not going to spoil that. But there's so much more we need to be doing. I'm sure the other speakers will understand what I mean by that. But it's doing pretty well. So where we are now, since we launched in 2020. Officially, we've got approaching 40 odd thousand app users, and lots of employers. We're in Australia as well as here, and we're approaching 1 million job shares, and I'll explain what that means when I give you the really quick demo. But one of the great things about the app is that it is generating funds or earnings, extra earnings, performance bonuses, if you like, for care workers, for support workers, because many more of them participate in the recruitment process now than did in the past. And we also have, as you'll see, hopefully in a moment, a special function that gives you double points, for example, or an extra boost of points when a friend you hire is not already working in the sector, because we need to grow capacity. And if you leave that to individual employers, they just pick someone who's already got a tabard or who's already got experience in children's social care, and that doesn't help grow the workforce. So that's what where we are at the moment, and that's what we're trying to do. We've just got approval by NHS England to take the app into hospitals' acute settings too. So it's an exciting time ahead. Just in terms of like why referrals are so good. So we just trade in referrals, of course. So this is employees recommending their friends in the community they think would be great children's social care workers. And you can see the conversion rates are really quite extraordinary. So right now in adults, you need approaching 100 applicants from an internet job board before at the end of your funnel, one support worker or care worker pops out of the end. And we need about 5. So it just shows you the quality of employee referral versus just putting a job ad on a job board. And then if you look at retention, that's equally important, of course, as recruitment. Then the 12-week churn, so how many people are still left after the first 3 months of employment. You can see there's a dramatic change there, where there's a very much more likely that these people will last those critical first few months of employment. And of course, as I mentioned, then money is really being diverted away from spending most of the budget on internet job boards, third-party media companies effectively, and then that money is moved back towards your existing staff. So the staff get more money and you get a better quality of recruit. So that's the kind of concept of it. Where we are at the moment, we receive some funding from local authorities to support the local markets. So that's not our primary business model, but we do receive funding, and you can see examples or an example of the sort of impact that we've had over in Kent. And we are, as I mentioned, in very, very advanced discussions with local government in Wales, looking at rolling this out to public sector fostering services. So the concept is identical in that we believe, and they believe, that foster carers are the most qualified people to identify someone who would then become also a suitable foster carer, and they will do an excellent job of selling the role and overcoming challenges or concerns. And so that's the idea about that. So I think it's time for the fun part of the show, where I'm going to attempt to give you a very, very quick, because of time, demo. So I'm going to share my entire screen now. And I'll just minimize us, and you can see here on screen, hopefully. Don't worry too much about what's taking up most of the screen. That's the sort of brains of the operation. I just wanted to sort of focus a bit more on the app itself, so you can just get a flavor for it. So you can see here, the app is actually in NHS colours because it's just been doing a demo for the NHS. So, but that doesn't matter. Normally it takes on the colours of the employer. And we use a tariff of points. So if I'm a support worker or a care worker, I can earn points, and a point is £1, at various stages of the recruitment process, not just when a friend of mine starts work, which is the 4th milestone down there, we're actually rewarding people earlier. And in the world of instant gratification and everyone wanting everything now, this is a really great way of making employee referral fun, rewarding, instantaneous, and building a bit of a buzz about it. And you can see at the bottom we've got our new to care bonus as well, which I mentioned earlier. But because of time, I want to just share a job now. So I've got this one pinned to the front. I've got lots of jobs on here. These are just the jobs in the company, or in this case in an NHS trust. But I'm going to share this job really quickly. I'm going to share it with myself so you can see both sides of this. So let's say I'm going to pick on Dan. Let's say I know Dan, he's working in Co-op or something, and I think he should become a children's social care worker because I think he's just perfect for it. So I'm going to share that job with him. It's super easy to do, and you can see that there's a message gone through to Dan's phone now, a text message from his friend, me, saying something interesting. So if we go and have a little look at this, you can see here, if I just tap this, it's actually a job ad, and this would be obviously for whatever job role we were recruiting for at the time. In this case, it's an NHS job, so I might tap on that, and that happens about every 15 of these that are shared, somebody applies this way. So you can see here we've got a job ad with some wording on, and if Dan is interested, he can just pop in here. Sorry, Dan, I forgot your surname even, so I'm just going to make this up. But just for the purposes of this, we're just collecting, let's just do gmail.com. We're just collecting very, very basic information about the applicant because we know the quality is so good. So I'm just going to put this one in central London somewhere. And off his application goes. So that's then all done, and you can see that my phone's now gone off, and as the referrer, and you can see I've just got 6 points. So I can have a look here and see, oh, my friend Dan's expressed interest in the job. So that's pretty cool. And very quickly, if then the recruiter is alerted saying, you know, fantastic news, here's Dan, and here he is on the main screen. So we're going to give him a call and bring him in for interview. So I'm just going to fast track him through interview here. And when interview is complete, this is now a points awarding stage. So I'm going to say interview successful, which they always are. And then you can see that an alert has happened on the app. And if I give it a little refresh, I've got more points, and so on through the process. And one final thing before I finish for questions is that you can also give bonus points. So bonus points are a thing that we never really thought about, but have become really, really popular. So let's say, for example, that I have achieved 2 years service, or I've responded to a text message saying, do you want to pick up an extra shift and help us out? Or there's a compliment from, say, the family member of a child I'm looking after. And then the manager can really, really quickly find me on the system and say, I'm just going to say a little thank you, little 5-point thank you, and I'll just put on here, great work with S. And they can just give me points instantly. So I may not even be on shift. I've got a little thank you, what's going on here, and you can see I have just received some more points. So that's the way the system works. Instantaneous, uses points, drives the right kind of behaviors, but we are at the very, very early stages. There's so much exciting stuff that we can do because of, you know, with more behavioral science. So anyway, I think I'm probably right up against time. I will pop my email address in anyway, Dan, so people can contact me, but open to questions or handing over to Ryan.
Great, thank you so much, Neil. That was such a great presentation, and great to see it all. With those things, they often don't seem to work when you try and do them live, so it's great to actually see it all go through. And yeah, a really interesting idea. We've got quite a range of people on the call today, actually, so if anyone's got any questions, do put a hand up or put something in the chat if there's anything you'd like Neil to answer. I think my first question, Neil, was just, in your experience, obviously you've tried this in a few places now, do you tend to get kind of quite a few people maybe recommending 1 or 2 people, or do you tend to get kind of fewer kind of super users who may recommend maybe more people? Is there kind of a general it may work differently in different organisations, but that was just one question I had.
Yeah, no, both of those things happen. We do have people that say, "Oh, I've already recommended my two friends in 1974, so I don't have any more friends." But what you can do is share on social media as well, and we also encourage them with messages. For example, do you know anyone who's a family carer? Do you know anyone that is volunteering? So we try and give them nudges so that they start thinking of not just their close friend group, but we do have people that are super referrers. I think the most successful has hired 17 people, and they are all still in posts like 6 months later. So it does really vary, absolutely. And we do think there is a variance where the culture of the company perhaps is not so good. People obviously quite naturally don't want to get their friends involved. So it's a bit of a barometer for the culture of the organisation too.
Great, thanks, Neil. Really interesting. Did anyone else have a question for Neil, either from your own experience, or have you tried anything in your own organisation in terms of that recruitment? And with all of this, do put a message in the chat if you're not able to speak at the moment. I suppose just a follow-up question from me as well, Neil, if no one else wants to jump in, was just around the application to children's services. So you said obviously most of your work so far has been in kind of adult social care.
Right.
So have you had any potential thoughts or challenges about adapting it to that kind of children's focus?
Well, we do have employers, customers of ours who also have children's services. So we know it works in children's services. It's just that we haven't really focused on that market. And I think the principles are absolutely the same. I think that the average age of children's social care workers is actually younger than adult social care, but I don't really have much evidence apart from lots and lots of peripheral work in this area. It feels like that. So I think it would be even more successful because the demographic in adult social care, of course, is mid-40s and above. And so that's, you would expect app adoption. And also we have leaderboards and a lot of sort of fun stuff. And I think that would respond even better to a kind of younger demographic, but I have to be cautious what I'm saying. Obviously, I'm not suggesting that it's always fixed with age, but I do think we would see perhaps higher adoption and more engagement. It's really good. I mean, we've generated tens and tens of thousands of candidates, but I think we could do better.
Great, lovely, thanks, Neil. And I can see Karen in the chat has just said it's really interesting, love the innovation and focus on solutions. And Melanie has just asked, I'd agree with you around the age demographic of children to adults. Are there any councils using the app, Neil?
Oh yeah, great question, Melanie, and hi, by the way. The councils mostly have engaged with us to support their local workforce. So we have talked to councils. In fact, we did talk to a council specifically about recruiting children's social workers. But the project hasn't really got going, but we do think that it would work as well. Obviously, that's a qualified pool and a smaller pool, but there's no reason why not. When you look at research from around the world about recruiting nurses, for example, then referral and word of mouth is the most successful route there too. So no, Melanie, we don't have councils specifically using it for us yet. Their focus has been supporting the local markets, but yeah, I would fully expect that we might well get some.